All right, so today we're going to be diving deep into the mind of a real estate seller.
Ooh,
I'm
interesting.
going to try to unpack like what motivates them, what their fears are, and honestly, like how understanding that perspective can help you no matter where you are in your own real estate journey.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just about the numbers and the contracts, right?
Right.
We're going to be talking about like the human side of selling.
Yeah, the emotions, the anxieties.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
dreams behind all those for sale signs.
It's fascinating how much psychology goes into these decisions.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's not just about square footage and price per square foot.
Right.
We're going to be looking at all these real life factors that kind of drive those choices to sell.
Totally.
And believe me, it's a lot more nuanced than you might think.
Yeah, I'm ready to get nuanced.
Yeah.
Let's start with the most basic question. Why do people even decide to sell their homes? I mean, it's a huge decision.
It really is. And the why can really be broken down into three main categories.
Okay.
Life changes,
Right.
financial reasons, and what we call market-driven decisions.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Life changes, I feel like, are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You know, families grow, people downsize jobs, take you to new cities.
Right.
But I imagine there's a lot of emotion tied into those decisions.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. It's not just about packing boxes.
It is not just packing boxes.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. Selling a home is often triggered by these major life events.
Yeah.
And they come with a whole lot of baggage, emotional baggage. Right. Think about it.
Yeah.
A home is where memories are made, families grow.
It's where you feel a sense of belonging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when these changes happen, like needing more space,
Yeah.
deciding to relocate to be closer to family, or even going through a divorce,
Right.
that decision to sell gets so intertwined with all these complex emotions.
That's a really good point. I hadn't really thought about it like that.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're not just selling a house, but they're selling a chapter of their lives.
Exactly. And for some sellers, letting go of that chapter can be really tough.
Yeah.
A good agent will recognize this and help guide them through that transition.
Yeah.
Understanding that it's not just about the transaction, it's about the human element.
So it's like as much about empathy as it is about expertise.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, what about those financial reasons you mentioned? I imagine those can be a major motivator too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Financial reasons can be anything from cashing in on the equity they've built up in their home.
Right.
Maybe they need to alleviate some debt.
Yeah.
Or they see a great opportunity to invest that money elsewhere.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say someone bought their home like 10 years ago.
Okay.
And now it's worth significantly more.
Right.
They might decide, hey, I'm going to sell, take that profit,
Yeah.
and use it to buy a larger property.
Okay.
Or invest in a completely different venture.
So it's not always about like needing to sell. Sometimes it's about strategically using that value of their home to make other financial moves.
Exactly.
I've always wondered how sellers kind of decide when to pull the trigger on that.
Right.
Is it just like a gut feeling or is there more to it?
There's definitely more to it. Remember that third category we talked about, those market-driven decisions?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where we see sellers kind of responding to that bigger economic picture.
Okay.
So, for example, a savvy seller might be tracking home prices in their area.
Yeah.
If they see prices are steadily rising,
Yeah.
they might decide, okay, now's the time to sell while the market's hot,
Right.
and I have the potential to get top dollar.
Ah, so they're playing the real estate game.
Yes.
They're watching for those trends that could give them an advantage.
Totally.
It's like they're trying to time the market.
Exactly. Or let's say interest rates are particularly low.
Right.
A seller might be motivated to sell their current home and use that opportunity to buy their next home at that lower interest rate,
Okay.
potentially saving them thousands of dollars over the life of their loan.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a really strategic move.
Yeah.
It sounds like sellers have to be part real estate guru, part financial analyst to really make the most of these opportunities.
You're not wrong. And then, of course, there's the classic spring-summer selling season
Right.
when buyer demand tends to be higher.
Yeah.
So sellers often try to capitalize on that
Yeah.
by listing their homes during those peak months.
So it's like a giant puzzle where they're trying to fit all these pieces together.
Right.
Their life, their finances,
Yep.
and that ever-changing real estate market.
Totally.
I'm starting to see why they say selling a home is one of the most stressful life events.
Oh, it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be completely overwhelming.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like sellers need like a serious game plan to kind of navigate all those factors.
Right.
But once they've made that decision to sell,
Yeah.
what are some of the behind-the-scenes considerations that they're kind of grappling with.
Well, remember all those emotional ties we were talking about?
Right. Yeah.
Those don't just disappear.
Yeah.
Sellers really struggle with
Yeah.
detaching from their homes.
Yeah, especially if they live there a long time
Totally.
and have a lot of,
Memories.
memories
Right.
associated with the property.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a hurdle, letting go of a place that's been such a big part of your life.
It's not easy, and it can actually affect how they approach the entire selling process.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for example, a recent study by the National Association of Realtors
Okay.
found that sellers who had a strong emotional attachment to their homes were more likely to overprice them,
Oh, wow.
leading to longer times on the market
Yeah.
and potentially even lower sale prices in the end.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So emotions can actually have like a tangible impact
Right.
on the financial outcome.
100%. And it's not just about pricing.
Okay.
Emotionally attached sellers might also be more sensitive to feedback from buyers.
Yeah.
They might take critiques of their home personally.
Oh, I can see that.
So this is where a skilled agent can really make a difference.
So how does a good agent help sellers navigate those emotional roadblocks?
It's all about communication and empathy.
Okay.
A good agent will acknowledge those feelings,
Yeah.
validating that emotional connection,
Right.
while also helping them see the bigger picture.
Right.
They might even share stories of other sellers who went through similar situations
Right.
and kind of highlight the positive aspects of moving on to a new chapter.
It's like they're not just real estate agents.
Right.
They're part therapists.
There's definitely a therapeutic element to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not just about emotions.
Right.
Sellers are facing all these practical considerations too.
Totally.
One of the big ones is timing.
Okay.
They're thinking about their own personal timelines.
Mm.
Like, do they need to sell quickly, or can they afford to wait for the right offer?
Right.
And they're also thinking about market conditions.
Yeah.
Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market?
Okay.
Are prices trending up or down?
So they're like juggling their own personal needs with the, sometimes unpredictable
Exactly.
nature of the real estate market.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
A seller might be ready to move on emotionally, but if the market's slow, it might not be the best time to list.
Right.
Or maybe they need to sell quickly because of a job relocation,
Right.
even if the market isn't ideal.
It sounds like they need a crystal ball
Right.
to predict how all these factors are going to play out.
Well, a crystal ball would be nice.
Yeah.
But a good agent can help them make those informed decisions based on, real-time market data and their understanding of the seller's situation.
So it's about providing guidance and expertise,
Right.
not just pushing for a quick sale.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about the money side of things. I know a lot of sellers kind of get hung up
Yeah,
on those financial details.
for sure.
What are some of the key financial considerations?
That are top of mind for them.
Well, the first one's pretty obvious.
Okay.
They want to get the best possible price for their home.
Right, of course.
But beyond that, they're also thinking about all the other costs that come with selling.
Okay.
Closing costs, agent fees, potential capital gains taxes. And you can't forget about any pre-listing repairs or upgrades that might need to be done.
Yeah, those can really add up. I've heard stories of sellers getting hit with unexpected repair bills
Oh, yeah.
that eat into their profits.
It happens more often than you think.
Really?
That's why it's so important for sellers to understand their net proceeds,
Okay.
what they'll actually walk away with after all those costs are deducted.
So it's all about setting those realistic expectations.
Right.
And avoiding those financial surprises down the road.
Exactly. And that's where a good agent comes in again.
Okay.
They can provide that detailed breakdown of all the potential costs, helping the seller understand where their money's going.
And what kind of profit they can realistically expect.
So it's not just about getting the highest offer. It's about understanding the whole financial picture.
Exactly.
Now, here's a question I've always been curious about, that whole fix it up or sell it as is dilemma.
Right.
How do sellers make that decision?
Yeah.
Seems like a tough one.
It is a tough one. It often comes down to a cost-benefit analysis.
Okay.
Sellers are weighing the potential return on investment for any repairs or upgrades
Yeah.
against the hassle and the expense of doing those renovations.
So is it about like looking at what their neighbors are doing?
Yeah, they're definitely looking at comparable properties in their area,
Okay.
trying to figure out what buyers are willing to pay for certain features.
So it's like they're doing their own market research.
Totally.
Trying to predict what will appeal to buyers.
Exactly. And they're also considering the current market conditions.
Right.
In a hot seller's market,
Yeah.
they might be able to get away with selling as is and still get a good price, but in a slower market, they might need to make some updates
Right.
to be more competitive.
Wow. It sounds like they need to be part real estate agent, part interior designer, and part financial analyst
Right.
to make the right call.
Well, they don't have to do it all alone.
Okay, good.
A skilled agent can guide them through that process,
Yeah.
providing insights into what buyers are looking for
Right.
and helping them make strategic choices about those upgrades.
So it's like having a real estate coach in your corner.
Totally.
Now, I've heard that some sellers have a very specific type of buyer in mind.
Yes.
Like they're not just selling to anyone. They're looking for like the perfect buyer
Right.
for their home.
Definitely.
Is that something you've encountered?
100%. It's that human element again.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes beyond just getting the highest price or selling quickly.
Okay.
They might have a strong connection to the property
Right.
and want to find a buyer who will appreciate it as much as they did.
So it's not just about the transaction.
Yeah, right.
It's about finding the right fit.
Exactly. For example, I recently worked with a seller who was downsizing from a large family home.
Okay.
She had raised her children in that house. It was filled with memories.
Yeah.
And she was adamant that she wanted to find a family who would create new memories there.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So we really focused on highlighting the family-friendly aspects of the property
Okay.
in our marketing.
Mm-hmm.
We staged the home to showcase its potential for family gatherings and emphasize its proximity to schools and parks.
It's like you were playing matchmaker,
A little bit, yeah.
trying to create a real estate love story.
And we were lucky enough to find a family who
Yeah.
fell in love with the house and all its history.
Oh, that's so great.
It was a really rewarding experience for everyone.
I bet. It's nice to know that those kinds of happy endings are possible
Right.
in the real estate world.
Exactly.
But let's get real for a moment.
Okay.
Selling a home can be stressful
Yeah.
and daunting, even with a great agent by your side.
Yeah.
What are some of the common fears that hold sellers back?
Well, one of the biggest ones is fear of the unknown.
Okay.
You know, what if my house doesn't sell?
Right.
How long will this whole process take?
Yeah.
What if I get lowball offers?
Oh, yeah.
It can be overwhelming, especially for first-time sellers.
Right. I can see how all that uncertainty would be really anxiety-provoking.
It is, and that's where a good agent can provide valuable support
Okay.
by walking them through each step of the process,
Yeah.
explaining what to expect, addressing their concerns.
Mm-hmm.
A good agent can help alleviate that fear of the unknown.
So it's about empowering them
Yes.
with knowledge and information.
100% knowledge is power, especially in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
The more a seller understands about the process, the less intimidating it becomes.
Right.
And speaking of intimidation, another common fear is the fear of making a mistake.
Okay.
You know, they're worried about pricing their home too high or too low, accepting the wrong offer,
Yeah.
not properly disclosing any issues with the property.
Those are big decisions.
Yes.
With potentially big consequences.
Totally.
I can see why that would be a major source of stress.
It is. And it's important to remember that even experienced sellers can make mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, nobody has a perfect track record,
Right.
but a good agent can help minimize those risks
Okay.
by providing expert advice, you know, guiding them through the negotiations, ensuring that all the paperwork is handled correctly.
So it's about having someone in their corner advocating for them
Exactly.
and protecting them from potential pitfalls.
100%. And then, of course, there's the fear of financial loss.
Right.
You know, they're worried about not getting their asking price, having to cover those unexpected costs,
Yeah.
and the impact the sale will have on their overall financial situation.
Right. And I bet that kind of ties into that where do I go from here
Yes.
dilemma that some sellers face.
100%.
You know, they're selling their current home,
Right.
but they haven't figured out their next move yet.
Exactly. That uncertainty can add a whole other layer of stress.
Yeah.
They might be planning to buy another property but haven't found the right one yet,
Right.
or they're considering renting for a while but haven't started looking.
Mhm.
And some might be downsizing or relocating,
Right.
and they need help navigating those new markets.
It's like they're stepping off a cliff and they don't know what's at the bottom.
It can feel that way, but again, a good agent can provide support there.
Okay.
They can offer advice on buying or renting post-sale,
Okay.
help coordinate timelines so that move is as seamless as possible,
Yeah.
and even connect them with resources in their new location.
Wow.
It's about being that trusted advisor that goes above and beyond the transaction itself.
It sounds like they need a real estate therapist, a financial advisor, and a moving coordinator,
Right.
all rolled into one.
Pretty much a skilled agent wears many hats.
That's amazing.
And that brings us to our next topic.
Okay. So we've talked about the emotional roller coaster,
Hmm.
the financial tightrope walk, and the logistical maze that sellers often face.
Yeah,
It's a lot to handle,
it is.
which makes me appreciate the role of a good real estate agent even more.
Right.
But as you've been saying, it's not just about the contracts and negotiations.
Right.
It's about that human connection.
Absolutely.
Can we dive a little deeper into what that means, like in practice?
Totally. We've touched on it a little bit already, but it's worth emphasizing how much of a difference that human element makes.
Yeah.
For agents, it starts with understanding that seller psychology. We've talked about all the emotions, the anxieties, the hopes.
Right.
A good agent's tuned into all of that.
Mm.
They're not just listening to what the seller is saying,
Right.
but what they're not saying.
Oh.
Picking up on those unspoken anxieties,
Right.
turning that into a strategy.
So it's almost like they're a real estate detective,
Yeah.
piecing together clues
Right.
to figure out what the seller really needs.
Right. 100%. Because once you have that understanding,
Yep.
you can really tailor your approach.
Okay.
Not all sellers are the same.
Right.
Some are focused on getting the highest price. Others are more focused on a quick sale. Some are really open to negotiation while others are more firm.
Right.
A good agent recognizes those differences
Yeah.
and adapts their approach to fit that seller's personality and circumstances.
That makes so much sense. It's not like a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
It's about customizing that experience to create the best outcome for that specific seller.
Totally.
And I imagine transparency plays a huge role
Huge.
in building that trust and rapport.
It's key.
Yeah.
Clear communication throughout the entire process is so essential.
Yeah.
A good agent will keep the seller informed every step of the way. Sharing feedback from showings, updates on market conditions, explaining any potential challenges.
Yeah.
It's about being that source of information and reassurance.
Right.
So the seller feels empowered, not overwhelmed.
So it's like building that confidence that they're in the driver's seat,
Exactly.
even when things get bumpy.
Totally. Now let's talk about one of the most nerve-wracking parts of this whole process.
Okay.
The offers.
Yes, the offer stage. That's when things can get really intense,
Oh, yeah.
both emotionally and financially.
Totally. So how does a good agent help sellers navigate all of that?
Yeah.
This is where experience and expertise really come into play.
Okay.
A skilled agent is like an offer whisperer.
Okay. I like that.
They can break down each offer in detail, explain the terms, contingencies, timelines, any potential red flags.
So it's like having a real estate translator.
Yes.
Someone who can decipher all that legal jargon.
Right, and make it understandable.
Yeah.
And beyond just explaining those offers, they can help the seller weigh the pros and cons of each one.
Okay.
Should they hold out for a higher price?
Right.
Even if it means a longer closing? Should they accept an offer with fewer contingencies, even if it's slightly lower?
Those are tough decisions.
Yeah, tough decisions.
Yeah.
And a good agent can provide that guidance based on their knowledge of the market and the seller's priorities.
It's like having a seasoned strategist in your corner,
Totally.
helping you make the smartest move.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, this whole process can be really emotionally charged,
Oh, for sure.
especially when you have multiple offers on the table
Right.
where things get heated.
Yeah.
How does an agent kind of help manage that stress?
Here's where those soft skills come in.
Okay.
A good agent is part therapist,
Yeah.
part negotiator,
Right.
part cheerleader.
Okay.
They're there to be that calming presence,
Right.
help the seller stay grounded amidst all the chaos, and remind them of their goals.
So they're like the Zen master of real estate,
Yes,
keeping everyone centered,
exactly.
even when emotions are running high.
100%. And they can act as a buffer between the seller and the buyer's agent,
Okay.
smoothing out any wrinkles in communication and trying to find solutions that work for both parties.
It's about creating a win-win situation,
Exactly.
not a win-lose battle.
Right, because at the end of the day,
Yeah,
a successful real estate transaction should benefit everyone involved.
totally. So for our listeners who might be thinking about selling their own property someday,
Right.
or maybe just want to be savvier buyers,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways from our deep dive
Okay, great question.
into the seller's mindset?
Yeah.
What are the practical insights
Right.
that they can apply?
Okay, so here are a few things to keep in mind.
Okay.
First, presentation matters
Okay.
for both buyers and sellers.
All right.
So sellers invest in some staging
Okay.
because it can really increase the perceived value of your property.
So hire a professional stager.
Yeah, A study by the Real Estate Staging Association found that staged homes sell on average 73% faster than unstaged homes. So don't underestimate the power of creating that visually appealing space.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
It really shows that putting your best foot forward can pay off.
Yeah, totally.
And buyers, don't be afraid to look beyond the surface.
Okay.
You know, if a property has good bones but needs some cosmetic work,
Yeah.
you might be able to get a really good deal.
So it's about seeing the potential,
Yes.
not just focusing on the imperfections.
100%. Now, another crucial point for both buyers and sellers, pricing power.
Okay, pricing power.
So sellers work with an experienced agent to set a competitive price based on real market data, not your emotional attachment to the property.
Right, so don't let your heart rule your head
Exactly.
when it comes to pricing.
Right. And buyers, do your research.
Okay.
Understand the market value so you can make informed offers. Don't be afraid to walk away if a deal doesn't feel right.
So be an informed consumer.
Yes.
Both on the buying and selling side.
Absolutely. And finally, remember, flexibility is key.
Okay.
The market is always changing.
Right.
And sometimes you have to be willing to adapt your strategy or your expectations.
Okay.
So sellers, be open to negotiation.
Okay.
And listen to that feedback from buyers.
Yeah.
Maybe they're looking for something specific that you can easily accommodate.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
So it's like finding that sweet spot
Yes.
between sticking to your guns and being open to compromise.
100%. And buyers, you know, if you're in a competitive market, be prepared to make your offer stand out.
Okay. How do you do that?
You know, maybe a personal letter to the seller.
Okay.
Expressing your genuine interest in the property.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can make all the difference.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah, it adds that human element.
Right. You're not just another number.
Yeah.
You're a real person.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, whether you're buying or selling, remember, it's a journey, not just a transaction.
I love that.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Do your research. And don't be afraid to ask for help along the way.
It's not a race to the finish line.
Right.
It's about enjoying the process.
Totally.
And making those informed decisions.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the seller's mindset.
Wow. I feel like I learned a lot today.
Me too.
It's always fascinating to explore like the psychology behind all of this.
Totally.
So as we wrap things up,
Yeah.
what's like the one big takeaway you'd like our listeners to remember about the seller's experience?
I think the biggest thing is empathy and understanding.
Okay.
Whether you're a buyer, a seller, or an agent,
Yeah.
putting yourself in the other person's shoes can make the whole process smoother and more rewarding.
Right.
You know, recognize that everyone's coming to the table with their own set of motivations, anxieties, and hopes.
It's like remembering that we're not just dealing with properties. Yeah. We're dealing with people's lives.
100%.
And when we approach real estate with that human touch,
Yeah.
it elevates the entire experience.
Couldn't agree more.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of the seller's mind.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights that you can apply to your own real estate journeys.
For sure.
And to our listeners, if this episode sparks some thoughts or questions, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media, drop us an email, or leave a comment on our website. We're always eager to engage in these conversations. Until next time, happy buying and selling.